All glories to the Assembly Lord. All glories to the Assembly Lord. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guru. We are reading from the 6th chapter of BhagavadGita. We came to text 10, but we'll review the first 9 verses a little bit. In the first verse, which Prabhupada quotes a number of times, Krishna says, "Who is real sannyasi and who is real yogi?" And he says, "It is not one who does not light fire and perform work." So what is the meaning that he does not light fire? Nanyaragnir na chakriya, in the first verse.
Chapter 10?
No, that was yesterday.
Oh,
Now we're 6. Anyway, it had previously or elsewhere, it is in the last chapter, I think, it's described. Some people advocate, some authorities advocate the giving up of all activities for spiritual perfection. And others say that sacrifice, austerity, and charity should never be given up. So Krishna says, in my opinion, these should never be given up. So here, Niragnir, who lights no fire, means who does not perform sacrifice, does not light the sacrificial fire. So then it was explained 2 stages of yoga practice. There's the beginner and the perfected. That in the beginning one has to perform so many regulative principles, one has to do so many things, and in the ultimate stage one gives up all of these activities and remains situated in trance. Then interesting, text 5 and 6, it talked about the mind as being one's friend or one's enemy. That when the mind is uncontrolled, it is one's greatest enemy. But when the mind is controlled, then the mind can be one's best friend. So the mind has to be controlled because it is the nature of the mind to wander over all the objects of sense gratification for the purpose of sense enjoyment. So therefore the yoga practice essentially means controlling the mind and controlling the senses. Yeah.
That's why in Prabhupada, Maharaj, I don't know where he got these 9 keys for chanting.
Yeah, you told me before.
But 2 of them involve the mind. Number 3 is bring the mind back from wherever it wanders. Number 5 is forget the mind. But I'm wondering what that means. Because this is saying, what you're saying is using, excuse me, I have a problem with is we should use the mind, control the mind.
Well, of course, you have to utilize the mind. You cannot act without the mind. But I think Maharaj is indicating that when we chant, our attention should be on the chanting and not on whatever the mind may suddenly think of this, that, other things. Forget the thoughts of the mind and just concentrate on the chanting. But actually it means bringing the mind to the chanting and not letting the mind wander to another place. Primadasi was saying that I wasn't here when Jivananda spoke this time. She was saying that he told a lot of his personal experiences, like, yeah, I was in Cleveland the other day and I met a man, something, and then related to Krishna consciousness. So, just one thing I was thinking about this mind control. That when I drive from my house, I always get gas at Fry's. They have a big sign of the current price of gas. So of course, as everyone knows, unless someone is really out of touch with things, gas prices dropping every few days is going down, 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 down. So naturally, everyone's curious, well, did it drop today another few cents? Because when I came here, it actually rose a bit to about 360 almost. Now just went down to 239. So I was driving once and I thought, I always want to see what the price of gas is now, because every few days it goes down a few cents. But this time I will control my mind, I will not look at it. So I drive right by the sign. From a distance I can see that it's there and I approach and pass it. Still my mind is like, by habit, no, look, look. So actually it takes, in the beginning especially, it takes conscious effort or force to bring the mind back. And Krishna says in BhagavadGita that from wherever, whenever the mind wanders, one should bring it back under the control of the self, or into the practice of Krishna consciousness. So one who has an uncontrolled mind, or at least one who doesn't endeavor to control his mind will be his greatest enemy, because the mind will just go to anything.
I think also it's kind of what you feed your mind as well. You know, if you watch a lot of TV or listen to the radio, that's going in. And I find that what I feed my mind is what comes out. Like one day I had a day off and I played a Krishna music all day long, just the same song, the song I played you over and over. And the next morning when I woke up, that song was in my head the minute I woke up. So I kind of think if you, I don't know if this lines up or not, but I just feel like what you feed yourself, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, and what you put in comes out. So
yes,
if you can,
Prabhupada would always say, habit is second nature. Means naturally what you are hearing and seeing, that will fill your mind, and that will continue to remain in your mind always. So that's why in Krishna consciousness, the basic, and there's a verse that says, remember Krishna and to never forget Krishna. But that is the basic rule, and all other rules are just servants of that one rule. So the basic principle is Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, always remember Vishnu or Krishna. Be Smartavya na Jatu Chit, and never forget him. So if one is in that way, always, 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 then of course mind will be easy to control. And if one does otherwise, then of course very difficult to control the mind.
So, just curious, which was that song that stayed?
what's the song? It's in Hindi, but
It's fine. I'm just.
the one that
You
we
tell me later.
that for the festival we just had, or we read that paper, we read, sang it in.
Damodar.
Yeah, I just play it over and over and over, and I just hear it, you know. So what you feed comes out. That's why I think society is so corrupt, because we have the movies and music and TV and billboards, just sex
That
and
would be okay
violence.
if it had a good message.
Exactly.
Nobody would listen to that.
Sound vibration. It's called
Sound vibrations.
mantra vibration.
Yeah.
And if you come to the temple and we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantras and make a vibration.
Yeah. Just to be surrounded with it and absorb it.
But it makes a vibration into the universe, right? BhagavadGita.
So let us continue. We're just reviewing in text 8. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. I always found a curious small point, but Lostra, Ashma, Kanchana, actually Lostra means like pebbles, stones, but Ashma means iron, doesn't it? It's steel. It's not actually pebbles, stones, and gold. It should be pebbles, iron, or gold, as the same, I think. Anyway. So the 9th verse says, one is considered further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. So, a little less advanced, one sees all material things as being of equal value. Iron and gold is the same for him because he has no use for any of these things. And further advanced, all varieties of persons are seen equally. That someone may be a flatterer, oh, you're so wonderful. Someone may be a backbiter, but the self-realized person, more advanced, sees them equally. Because he's seeing that the soul is actually just conditioned in different ways. The actual person is none of these things, but just by the spell of material nature, he's acting as a friend or acting as an enemy. Prabhupada gives the example of Jesus Christ. Even he is crucified. He said, pray to God, please forgive them because they know not what they are doing. So he's seeing that actually their soul, they are pure, but due to the action of Maya or ignorance, they are acting in this way, helplessly.
So the soul is still pure, even though they're acting envious and mean and killing.
Soul is always pure. It is something like those who deal with, now they call it different things like mentally challenged.
Yeah.
They used to just say crazy people
retarded.
or insane. Now they have to say something challenged. Put a sugar coating on it. So those who deal with crazy people in a mental institution, I mean those who are emotionally challenged. Your practice, or they generally, or should be, they don't become offended by their crazy acts because they know they're not in a normal condition. They're just being forced helplessly to act in this way. So even though they may do something terrible, oh, it's all right, that's all right. They don't take it seriously. So the self-realized soul doesn't take seriously because he knows they're just all acting under the control of the three modes of material nature. Prabhupada used to always say that in this world, everyone is mad. Everyone. And he gave an example from his personal experience that once there was a court case. Someone had murdered someone, but the defense was pleading insanity. Well, he was not in his right mind. So they called a psychiatrist or whatever to give an evaluation. So the judge said, so in your learned opinion, was this man crazy or not? And the psychiatrist said, well, in my long experience, I have come to the conclusion that in this world, everyone is crazy. So if you want to consider whether this man is crazy or not, that's up to you. But everyone is crazy, more or less.
Is that true?
Well, that is true. Crazy means, what is crazy? Not acting normally. So in conditional life, we're not acting normally as pure devotees as normal. And to act otherwise is madness. And then once I remember when I first joined in the temple, the printing press was there. Books were printed by the press, ISKCON's own press, and then the art department was there. And a lady devotee, she was considered very advanced and learned, Jadharani. She painted many of the early paintings. So I was talking to her once that if I have to speak in front of an audience, I feel nervous. So what to do? Then she told that she had once spoken about that to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, oh, just look at all the people and think everyone is crazy, actually. Why should you feel nervous to speak to them? So anyway, now with verse 10, we're beginning we understand from the first 9 verses a little bit of the characteristics of a person in that perfect transcendental state. Now the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, for attaining that state, is being described in some detail. Of course, I have to again point out that this practice of Ashtanga Yoga as described in this chapter is not recommended in the sage. It's not possible really for anyone. Prabhupada said maybe for 1 and 2, but generally it's not possible for anyone to practice and perfect. But still we will hear about it because Krishna is describing it to Arjuna, and we'll see that Arjuna also rejects it. After hearing about it, he says, Krishna, I think this is very difficult, but because it's too difficult to control the mind in this way. So then Prabhupada says, if Arjuna thinks it's too difficult, then what about us? We are not even 1/10,000th part of Arjuna. But still, there's many lessons to be learned here, and many things apply in a different way. Many of the principles also apply for us in Krishna consciousness. So text 10, a transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness.
Just begin, not attain.
So, first thing it is said, Rahasi Sthitaha means to practice this yoga, you have to go to a secluded place alone. Ekaki means alone, only one person. So Prabhupada referred to this many times because there are so many yoga societies in the cities, even in that time when Prabhupada was preaching, and now also. So many yoga societies, they get together, a yoga instructor and 20, 30 people. Think they are practicing yoga. But Prabhupada said, this is not yoga, actually. Not according to BhagavadGita. There may be some exercise, value for health or whatever, but this is not actually practice of yoga and the purpose of yoga. So here it is said, the first qualification, because it's beginning the description of how to practice this Ashtanga yoga. And the first thing mentioned is that one must go alone to a secluded place. That's the first thing. Actually, the first thing is of primary importance. And it's also mentioned he must control his mind without any feelings of attraction and without any feeling of possessiveness. In other words, if one goes to a secluded place and practices this yoga, he cannot have in his mind, well, I want this or something to distract him. So how would this apply to us?
What is this called again? What kind of yoga?
It's called Ashtanga. Ashtanga means 8 parts or 8 limbs. Ashta means 8 and Anga means limbs, like the arm is an Anga of my body. So 8-part yoga.
So is this not body posturings as well? That's something different?
No, there's 8 parts, and one of the part is asana, sitting postures. That's one of the, but that's the 3rd part.
Okay.
It's only the 3rd part. So if one tries to perform the 3rd part without following the 1st and 2nd part, that's not proper. And the 3rd part is not the end, it's only to lead to the 4th, which is to lead to the 5th and 6th.
Plus 8, samadhi.
Samadhi. Samadhi.
So what are first 2 parts?
Yama niyam means rules and regulations or practices. You must do this, and don't do this, don't do this. Just like, of course, I don't know what these are so much, but it is described in the Bhagavatam, the story of Dhruva Maharaj, which I told one Sunday, that Narada told Dhruva to perform this Ashtanga yoga. He said, bathe 3 times daily and perform some fire sacrifice. This is Yama Niyama. I don't really know much about this. We have Char Niyam, 4 niyams, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling.
That is the aim. That is the aim.
Yam,
Okay, no. And by gathering, come to Mangalarati, all these things, niyam.
Char Yam,
Yeah, yeah.
but everyone says Char Niyam.
It's our niyam, but this is the we read in Bhagavatam last morning. Which morning I forget, but we read in Bhagavatam. Is these are regulatory principles in air and take bath,
Oh, yeah, right.
and doing seva something. These are niyam.
Mm.
So anyway, there's preliminary practices and restrictions so that when one begins the asana, sitting postures, one is in a purified, calm state. So how does this relate to us, Krishna conscious devotees, this verse? So Prabhupada would say that we also avoid the association of non-devotees. So in that sense, we are alone. We don't talk nonsensical, non-Krishna conscious things, and that way we are silent. So we take it in that way. I'll read from the purport. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness.
For chapter 6, verse 10 and third paragraph.
So here it says, free from possessiveness. Prabhupada says, a Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna. And thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. Text 11:12. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deerskin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities, and fixing the mind on one point.
Deerskin? Literal deerskin?
Yeah, literally.
That's allowed?
I thought they didn't do that.
Well, in the past they did.
My grandfather used to do Veda part in the morning time, 2 hours maybe. I can just lay with deer skin with the hearts. Yeah, still I have that.
What did he do?
Yeah,
What did he do?
and now he's back to the head, but he's still in the asana. Yeah.
He did his meditations on it.
Yes, meditation on the deer skin. It's all the yoga process.
Anyway, in Kali Yuga, that is not allowed, right?
Yes, not for us. So the important last phrase is yogam atma vishuddhaye, which means that yoga is ultimately meant for purifying the heart or purifying the self. It is meant for self-purification. So of course, we don't do so many of these things regarding the sitting place, but it does say here that one should go to a sacred place. On the purport, Prabhupada says sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Hardwar, and in solitude practice yoga, where the sacred rivers like the Jamuna and Ganga flow. But then not stated here, but Prabhupada said that these ISKCON temples, they are on the same level as these holy places. So one who comes to the temple or lives in the temple is as good as living in Haridwar, Rishikesh, Vrindavan, etc. Then, of course, he also points out in the purport that in this age we cannot perform this yoga. Instead, it is recommended to chant the holy name of the Lord. There is no other means. 13 and 14. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life.
So it is a practice which is recommended in Gita too. I mean, like stand erect and try to take attention of the tip of the nose.
Well,
Or is it just symbolic?
I mean, of course, one should sit nicely when chanting. There's a tape, first tape of Prabhupada chanting japa, which they used to play many times, the original tape. And then in the Prabhupada's chanting and devotees are chanting, you can hear. And then in the middle, Prabhupada tells someone, sit properly. So, of course, sitting posture is not strictly observed like this, but here it is mentioned, mind should be focused upon me, Krishna says. And one should make me the ultimate goal of life, even while practicing this yoga practice. And somewhere else it is mentioned that the eyes should be half closed. If the eyes are fully open, then one will look at so many things. And if the eyes are closed, one will sleep.
Oops. Just try to see both eyes, tip of the nose like that. So, like,
Headache.
oh, it's so funny, no?
If you look at your nose and you go up to Swarga.
Like, see, try it.
It suggests that you can
It
feel the
hurts.
eye muscles right there.
Yeah, I just need a tip of the nose, but I hope your eye doesn't become like.
You can see two of everything together.
half and half eye closed. And think about the four-handed
It
Vishnu.
helps.
Yes, Prabhu? Four-handed Vishnu, four-handed Vishnu.
That is not enough, yeah. Dharma.
15. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God, or the abode of Krishna, by cessation of material existence. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, the ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. So all the yoga classes, etc., they always advertise good health, and so many other things. an improvement in the material condition of life. Whereas here it is said that Shanti Nirvana Paramam. Nirvana is a term often used in Buddhism. Nirvana means cessation of all material existence. So unlike the yoga classes, actual yoga is meant for cessation of material existence.
So it doesn't mean moksha. Nirvana doesn't mean moksha.
Well, moksha is also nirvana.
Only one nirvana, Brahma nirvana, many nirvana.
Well, nirvana just means cessation of material existence. So any kind of spiritual liberation would include nirvana. But the Buddhist conception, I think, is that everything is nothing. Make everything nothing. The impersonalists want to become one with Brahmajyoti. That is their idea of nirvana. And devotee idea is to personally associate with Krishna in the spiritual world.
Both the philosophy, they are just within the body, fire just mixed with fire, water mixed with the pump. We can tag a surname, nothing. Life here just mixed with the air and nothing left. Then similar.
Nothing means black hole. What is nothing?
Nothing left means just mixed with the 5 material things, 8 material things, whatever.
You just morph into the universe.
Wow.
You cease being an individual, but you just morph into a mass consciousness.
Do you have one?
16.
May I ask one more question?
Yeah.
I see transcendentalists a lot in here. Is that the same as transcendental meditation, the Maharishi, or is that something different? Was he a Krishna consciousness, or
No.
is that something totally different?
Yeah, I mean, he taught some similar things, but his whole presentation was not authorized way. I mean, just his own method, his own conception. I don't know. But transcendentalist means one who is trying to rise above material. So the transcendentalists are basically in 2 classes, the impersonalist and the personalist. The impersonalists, they're also transcendentalists because they want to transcend material existence.
Buddhists.
So anyone who is trying to, even if they're doing not so properly or whatever, whoever's trying to rise above matter is a transcendentalist.
Okay.
16, there's no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much, or eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough.
अच्छा प्रसाद मिले तो बहुत खाते हैं।
Yeah.
अच्छा प्रसाद too much.
That's okay.
I mean, in Krishna consciousness, also Prabhupada always preached moderation. No need to try to artificially and unnecessarily become too much austere. But in the name of prasad also, one should not eat and become fat. Prabhupada always pointed out his guru would point he would point to his disciples and say, "You're fat, not fit." He didn't like fat disciples. Seven.
I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions tonight for some reason. You know, we celebrated the disappearance of Prabhu's
Spiritual
guru.
master.
Was he alive when Prabhu came to the United States?
No.
He'd already gone?
He passed away in 1936.
Oh. Wow. Because I know nothing about him. I thought it was interesting. Okay.
We'll read just one more verse. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. When the purport Prabhupada says, extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it may be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. So Prabhupada always talked about regulation, should be regulated. Always said we should be regulated. That's why in the temples, everyone rises at a certain time, attends a regular program, has prasad at a certain time, takes rest at a certain time. Otherwise, if one is not regulated, but just one day this, one day that, no question of practicing yoga. So, any discussion?
I mean, like somewhere in one of the verses, there was a reference of Ganga, the Ganges river. Now in India, like we worship Ganga river, but then, technically I don't know this, what is the significance of Ganga as a river and how it came about?
Well, significance is the Ganga originated when Lord Vamana, he took his 3 steps, his third step pierced the coverings of the universe so that water from the causal ocean leaked into the universe and washed his lotus feet. So that's why it is purifying and considered sacred river. That story you will find in Srimad Bhagavatam.
So the story that Ganga was trapped in Shiva's head and he let it, that's not true.
Well, that's true. It began there, then there's also a description of the whole descent of the Ganga to the earth in Bhagavatam. That Ganga was afraid to fall down to the earth so far, so Lord Shiva was requested to
Control the flow.
catch her in his hair.
But they are transcendental. How can this can destroy the whole world? Huh? It can make a softer world. See, from the transcendental place, there is transcendent thing. How can destroy the world?
Destroy the world.
Yeah, by our current.
Oh, she was afraid not to destroy the world. She was afraid of herself being hurt by falling so far. I didn't read for a long time, but you could read it.
It's a good thing, Bhagavad. That's the problem. It's mentioned in Shiva Purana in different way, in Bhagavad Purana in different way, Krishna Purana in different way.
Yeah.
It's all the same story, but
Shiva Purana will give more importance to Shiva's part. So after reading all this, what do we conclude?
Very important, some very important points here. Everyone, like whenever we look at something, we have to look at equally without indifference. Like whether it's gold or it's like anything of no value or value. Actually, everything, nothing has any value. We have to see with indifference and see everything.
I mean, another way to look at it is that, of course, for ordinary persons, they cannot see gold and iron as equally because they're very interested in attaining a good position in this world. But just imagine you're dying, you know you're going to die within a few hours. Then if you were to look at gold or stone, you would look at that equally. Be of no use to you. So devotee is like that, devotee wants to go back home, back to Godhead, or wants to serve Krishna. So any material position that is of no use. Well, there's a story that also a little bit illustrates this. Prabhupada also told this story that it's in one of the Puranas. There was a sage, I don't remember his name, but there's some rishi. And someone came to him and said, because he was just sitting by the side of the river, he had no cottage or house or anything. So the person asked, why haven't you constructed at least a simple residence for yourself? So he said that my duration of life is that I think with each day of Brahma, one of my hair falls down. So when all of my hair has fallen down, then I will die. In other words, the idea is his duration of life is incalculable. So he said, so since that's the case,
It's a
what's the
Loma
use
Rishi.
of
Loma Rishi.
Loma Rishi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, and that being the case, what's the use of constructing a house? I'm going to die so soon, after quadrillion, billion, trillion years. So what's the use of constructing a house?
Many times.
But anyway, the idea is we're all going to die. What's the use of just spending our whole life building up a nice situation here? Or when someone is more elevated, well, what's the use of all these things?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we always forget, that at the end of the day, this material body has to die. If we remember it every moment, then perhaps all these distractions will definitely not happen.
Of course, that's one side of it, but really in Krishna consciousness, the feeling is different. A pure devotee like Prabhupada, he wasn't just thinking, of course he would think, but not all the time, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, therefore I don't care. He's thinking instead that everything belongs to Krishna. Everything should be utilized in Krishna's service. My guru has ordered me to preach Krishna consciousness in the West. So whatever I have got, whatever time I have, whatever, let me utilize it for executing that mission. Then with that mentality, everything else is automatically included. For himself, iron and gold is the same, but for Krishna's service, then gold is more valuable than iron. So this is all in relation to the body or one's personal self.
Yeah. So the mind, it forgets this, like we tend to forget all this and again gets involved into mindfulness.
So the thing is, without Krishna consciousness, it's just you try to be in that neutral position, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But if you're so absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then you can automatically, without a separate endeavor, have these qualifications.
We tend to feel good or bad about materialistic things which is happening around. I mean,
The thing is, we're always absorbed in the body.
Yeah, yeah.
See, if you don't do something, then what do? You think of your body, you think of your mind. If you do something, then you can forget about your body and mind. So the devotees are very active in the service of Krishna, therefore they forget about their personal whatever.
Anyway, I heard that in this Kali Yuga, a handful of people can even attain. Is that true?
Yeah, in Kali Yuga, nobody can practice these different things. Therefore, everywhere it is stated in Shastra, only by chanting the holy name, only by chanting the holy name can one attain purification and liberation and Krishna consciousness.
So even in Kali Yuga, many people can practically attain.
Yeah, many people can and have and will by chanting. But without chanting, nobody will, or very few will.
Kali Yuga is the golden time for the devotee.
Because it makes you do it.
Yeah, golden time. Devatas and Rishi Muni, they are also looking for the Kali Yuga, what will Kali Yuga come. And especially Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Some lecture I heard like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So golden chance for the devotees. So you don't have to miss. You have to come to the line, start to chant. And so
So you're saying that instead of me thinking, why have I been born in Kali Yuga, I should actually think, this is good. Oh,
Kali Yuga is not bad. Only you are thinking, oh, it is bad yoga, so we have to become bad. You are thinking like that. Oh no.
why have I been so bad that I've been born here?
Kali Yuga is bad, but we have to be good person.
Well, the process is the easiest. Simply chant Hare Krishna, take prasad, and when you're tired, take some rest.
Chant, finish.
Don't overdo it.
And fight with the other devotees.
What's that? I missed it.
I'm just joking. And fight with the other devotees.
It's happening.
What?
All righty then.
In Sanskrit, there is one verse. Pandite Pandita Drishta Swanavat Ghargunayate. That means one Pandit, one devotee see the another devotee. Like Swanavat Ghargunaya. One dog is come from another place, and they are saying like that. It's happening. Swan means dog. It's one area dog, another area. He go to another
Territorial.
same thing.
Totally.
Pundits are also same as dogs.
Yeah, they're bargaining each other. Oh, I'm this, so you how was it all like that?
Yeah.
That topic.
How do you go find?
Yeah, was that dogs perhaps?
No, because ego, no. If there's no ego, there'll be no problem.
The right point.
Seems so easy.
Saying is easy, yeah.
So easy.
Very